The work, the machines, and robots are not for washing windows, nor helping you do chores. They're for enlightenment, poetry, and magic. I enjoy misusing technology, misapplying it, poetically using it. Uh, Crimson Rose was a co-founder of Burning Man, the Black Rock Arts Foundation and Burning Man Project. Crimson Rose's life, passion, and work have focused on the arts and artistic expression. She began participating in the Burning Man event in 1991 and developed the organization's art department, including the infrastructure, financial, and other support services that make possible the large-scale participatory artworks that Burning Man is renowned for. With Crimson's guidance, Burning Man serves as an inspirational, limitless canvas, the works of which now find public placement in cities around the world and serve as catalytic sparks for community collaboration. Um, I'm gonna read Tahoe Mack's bio in the hopes that she is joining us, and I haven't seen her yet. Um, Tahoe Mack is a multidisciplinary artist integrating steel, fabric, wood, found objects, and photography to create immersive works that bridge history, environment, and community. Raised in Las Vegas, she developed an early passion for large-scale public art and advocacy. At 15, she led the creation of the monumental Mammoth, a towering steel sculpture designed to raise awareness for the Tule Springs Fossil Beds National Monument. Selected for Burning Man's prestigious honorarium program in 2019, the piece now stands permanently at Ice Age Fossils State Park. Mack pursued a BFA in sculpture at the University of Oregon, exhibiting work at the Lawrence Cruz Gallery and leading public installations on campus and in downtown Eugene. Her art transforms material into narrative, engaging audiences beyond traditional gallery spaces. She is drawn to sculpture's power to inspire dialogue, honor history, and activate collective action through bold, site-responsive work. Mack continues to explore the intersection of art, activism, and environmental consciousness. By way of some introduction, and then I think we'll go to Crimson first. Burning Man and its annual temporary edifice in the desert called Black Rock City have captivated masses of participants, often in recent years, tens of thousands of them. And as I understand, I think it was recently 80,000, but we'll hear from Crimson on that. Um, and it has morphed over time from a simple beach party or rave in San Francisco to a phenomenon of global impact. It all began in 1986 on the Bay Area's Baker Beach. There, the co-founders, Larry Harvey and Jerry James, created an event centered on the burning of a human-shaped sculpture. During the 1990s, Burning Man exploded in popularity and was moved to the Black Rock Desert in Nevada, where it remains today. But what exactly is Burning Man? It's a lot more than a festival. Burning Man can best be described as a countercultural public art and performance art event which spans about 9 days each June. Burning Man is a surreal feeling, isolated, dusty, and bizarre party in the desert of northwestern Nevada. The event is known for its eccentric displays of art and expression, including fantastical, quirky vehicles, towering sculptures of wood and metal, and all sorts of temporary structures. Burning Man is also known for its totally hedonistic behavior, including nudity, sex, and drug use. Burning Man takes its name from a giant human-like sculpture that is the centerpiece of the annual event and changes in design each year. Called The Man, The sculpture is burned to cap off the 9-day event. What are the 10 principles of Burning Man? Burning Man's co-founder, Larry Harvey, laid out these 10 principles, which I'm going to read to you. Radical inclusion. Anyone can be a part of Burning Man. Gifting. Burning Man is devoted to acts of gift giving. It's always a tough one. Decommodification. In order to preserve the spirit of gifting, the community seeks to create social environments that are unmediated by commercial sponsorship, transactions, or advertising. Radical self-reliance. Burning Man encourages the individual to discover, exercise, and rely on their inner resources. Radical self-expression. Radical self-expression arises from the unique gifts of the individual. Communal effort. The community values creative cooperation and collaboration. Civic responsibility. Community members who organize events should assume responsibility for public welfare and endeavor to communicate civic responsibilities to participants. Leaving no trace. The community respects the environment and is committed to leaving no physical trace of activities wherever they gather. Participation. The community is committed to a radically participatory ethic. They believe that transformative change, whether in the individual or in society, can occur only through the medium of deeply personal participation. Immediacy. Immediate experience is in many ways the most important touchstone of value in Burning Man's culture. Some impressions of Burning Man. Is it a rock concert, a rave, or a gathering of the clans? Does it have things in common with a Boy Scout jamboree, a Cirque du Soleil performance, or a dance recital? It's certainly evocative of movies like Blade Runner, Mad Max, or even Dune. It could remind one of a performance by Twyla Tharp or Pina Bausch. Think Fellini on acid. And costumes and props seem straight out of Hollywood backlot warehouses. The lighting effects and pyrotechnics are spellbinding. It's many things in one, and clearly an epic spectacle at its core. A number of Artist Talk on Art board members, and I know there are one or two here tonight that have been participants, and many more that have been viewers. Well, I guess the viewers are the participants, have directly experienced Burning Man, and ATOA has been keenly aware and has offered numerous panels on public art, even our very first in January of 1975, which was called Whatever Happened to Public Art, as well as hosted live performance art in our over 5 decades. So tonight we take great pleasure at an opportunity to present experts of and on Burning Man for your information and edification. So I'd like to, for the moment, turn things over to Crimson Rose to show us some images and also to be a spokesperson, of course, for Burning Man.
Right.
Crimson.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. The framework for our art spirit is the Black Rock Desert, the largest flat expanse in North America, 400 square miles of a prehistoric, dry, flat lake bed. But why would a place that seems to be barren and desolate hold so much potential? Why would anyone go to the middle of what appears to be nowhere? Quoting Annie Braddock, she says, there is a common belief among anthropologists that you must immerse yourself in an unfamiliar world in order to truly understand your own. The environment of the Black Rock Desert can be very harsh to us soft humans who have no scales that covers the skin, no lizard eyelids that keep out the dust. Nature is the highest authority in the Black Rock Desert. It either breaks you or you break through the barriers. And there is no room for ego. Actually, we burn up our ego. This environment, once an unfamiliar world to many of us, has become home. Starting our 39th year, we have grown to 70,000 plus people, which is the 10th largest city in the state of Nevada for 1 week. This is Black Rock Station. I'm sorry, Black Rock City, 9 square miles. Drawn to the desert, we were not trying to create a movement or change culture or even create a business. It was about changing the rules of the status quo through community, participation, and interactivity. This is the context for creativity that blurs the distinction between an audience and an art form, between participation and spectating. Burning Man is not a festival. We don't book acts or provide entertainment. There is no main stage, no velvet rope, no barricades that really separate you from truly participating in Black Rock City. What happens in Burning Man is up to you as a citizen of Black Rock City. We value who you are, not what you have. And when given the opportunity, participants are turned into active contributors to the character of a community. They become the fabric of what is possible with love, playfulness, and a sense of amusement. Our community is committed to a radically participatory ethic. We believe that transformative change, whether in the individual or in society, can occur only through the medium of deeply personal participation. So, what is the formula for engagement that turns an environment into something inviting, inspirational, stimulating? What started as a camping trip to set something on fire developed into something much deeper. It became an experiment in social living. The skeletal figure in this photo we call the man, which will be positioned at the precise center of where the survey of Black Rock City will radiate outward, creating a context for creativity to blossom. The vast limitless environment of Black Rock City provokes possibilities. One person created one thing, and 5 more would say, if they did that, I could. This reflects the potential within and allows us to believe that we are capable of anything and everything is possible. In those early years, there was no how-to manual on how to create a city. This has taught us to be courageous and to not allow our fears to overtake us because we fear failure. Failure is in the not doing. There were times when we were making it up as we went along. If something worked, we did it again. If not, then we changed it. This is still true today. This is why Black Rock City continues to evolve. We care about the culture to keep it alive, to keep it vital. Because culture is a living, breathing organism that needs to be stimulated, disturbed, and set on fire, or it will die. We are the cultural instigators, but we are also just people. We are the nerds, the freaks, the geeks, the black sheep of the family. The culture of this temporary city will not work unless this family, these participants, feel like they are part of the creation. This is why Burning Man has become a global cultural movement based on the 10 principles. The principles are a reflection of the community's ethos and culture as it had organically developed since the event's inception. It was about observing what was naturally happening. Through these principles, we continue to encourage the spark. Illogical, fantastical, repurposed materials. We are transformed from spectator to participant, and we are given permission to become active contributors to our own creative process. It is about going towards the experience, the unfamiliar world. Breathing life into an idea brings the dreams of the artist alive, pulling the vision out of the deepest recesses of one's being into reality by channeling the art spirit. Creativity has no limits, whether in concept or technique, and you cannot be creative without taking a risk. But searching for perfection of bringing a creation to life can be exciting or disappointing and may have nothing to do with the dreams, but the limitations of the physicality and making the materials behave in a certain way. The gift of inspiration from the artist can be so profound. Imagine an environment where you can make up the rules of engagement. This is where interactive art was born. Art that has a social purpose, connects people, functions as social environments, requires people to collaborate in its creation. Art that is activated by participants, which provoke actions. Sometimes art is spread out within a field of space where participants can explore. Interactive art transcends the static concept of an art object that is contemplated by a detached audience. Art can transform recycled materials into wonderful creative expression. And this is a piece by Mack, the monumental mammoth. Art can provoke curiosity and exploration of not only the art, but yourself. And interactive art can direct attention to the surrounding world. This is art that is inclusive rather than exclusive, that permits spontaneous and immediate opportunities to have an immersive experience. And the art is not considered finished until humans activate it. Each year, we lovingly create this wooden figure we call the man, and for some, it represents nothing. I will let you make up your own explanation. But quoting the late Larry Harvey, he says, "It is a blank canvas onto which to project your own thoughts and feelings, a ritual outside of context and unfettered by explanation." With all the creative energy of Black Rock City, it only made sense that what the man would stand on would go through an evolution as well. This is where the yearly themes would come into play that provide an access point to engage with yourself. We create this wooden figure with love, and then we let go of it. We release our ownership over the man, over any art that we liberate by fire. This simple act of releasing one's art by fire reminds us of the immediacy and the fleeting nature of existence. Saturday night, we release the man in pyrotechnic delight, and it is indeed a party. But on Sunday night, we release the temple. The temple, all the temples have become the art which was designed to receive something from participants. The designs have changed from year to year, but the meaning truly remains the same. A place for the community to remember those that have gone before us and to remember those in joy. For the temples have become more than just wood or a depository of memories, photographs, poems, stories. Each person who contributes becomes an integral part of the temple. These gestures mean the temple belongs to everyone. After 25 years, the temple still reflects the mad masquerade and joy of our community, which can appear as a stark contrast to the rest of our event. It is that contrast that helps to define Burning Man community as anything but one-dimensional. We release the temple while thousands of people sit in near silence, quiet, and reverence. The ruins for me are just the starting point. With the embers, we can construct new ideas, symbols of a new beginning. Immediate experience is in many ways the most important touchstone of value in the Burning Man community. We seek to overcome barriers that stand between us and a recognition of our inner selves, the reality of those around us, participation in society, and contact with the natural world exceeding human powers. No idea can substitute for this experience. Thank you. And I will
Thank you, Crimson.
stop.
I'm holding questions until after Cal goes. So let's move on to Cal.
Thank you, Crimson. Everyone hearing me?
Yes.
I'm gonna do a share here. And so I've got a video here. I guess let me cue an image. Are you all seeing an image here?
Yes.
Great. So I attended Burning Man first in 1995. And it was an amazing time to be alive and witnessing in San Francisco this energy and culmination of different artists and groups really starting this event. And what it did was that it affirmed my life commitment to making radical art. And when I say radical, it's the art I wanted to make, not what I was seeing, not what culture was supporting. And really it helped affirm that capital had nothing to do with creativity. It can help, but it wasn't necessary. And everything I've made since then, and it's been 24 years since I've been to Burning Man, everything I've made since then has been informed by the 6 years that I attended. And it really sort of flipped the script for me. And that's me coming from more the road warrior scene in San Francisco, making industrial flamethrower, self-destructing robots. So I'm going to roll the tape here. So this is Icarus, and it's interactive sculpture that allow people to operate. Flamethrower that I developed. This is three-headed dogs, mechanical robotic dogs. Larry and Harvey and I schemed and devised together. This is Helco, a performance I did in 1996 in the desert, a strip mall with a 40-foot tower. Concept being the devil was going to buy Burning Man from Larry Harvey and take it away. I don't know if there's any audio playing. A little bit. That's my buddy John Law climbing this 40-foot tower. Serena Irwin chasing him up. We had 100 people develop this set. It was I had performers in the strip mall for about a week. And John was going to stop the devil from selling the festival and not letting Larry sell it to the devil. So John, real thing, slid down a zip line, went about 200 feet and crashed through a wall of neon. This is the kind of stuff we're doing in back alleys in San Francisco, in warehouses, and sometimes in big nightclubs in the 90s. So my buddy Michael Diaz, Christian Risto worked on this. Flynn Mouthy built a tower. I mean, there's so many amazing, incredible talent. I was working with Flash Hopkins. I mean, it was really astounding to work with this group of people and having that strip mall occupied all week by performers. Moving along, a sculpture I brought to Burning Man multiple times. It's my fire shower. And the idea being using technology to sort of overwhelm people and give them mystical, spiritual, or just super over-the-top experiences.
It seems that people get into
Icarus which is an opening shot. I showed you the photograph. This is done. I started getting shows. This is a museum show I had in Santa Fe, and they moved my exhibit to the basement, luckily. And I let the curator and museum director run that flamethrower and the flapping of the Icarus wings. So nothing fake, pretty damn dangerous. Can't believe I got away with what I did back then. Minimal injuries. You know, a thing with Burning Man is every year there was a drive to sort of top what we had done before. And not that it was competitive, but it was like a healthy competition. It's kind of a fun way to push the envelope, and a platform where eventually we would develop work that we maybe couldn't do in the city. This is an old warehouse that was in the Mission in San Francisco, cell space that hosted a ton of Burning Man events. Flamethrower, drum machine. My buddy Eric Brown, RIP, helped me program this. EB. A lot of collaborators throughout my life, often drawing on an incredible skill set of people in the city, you know, that worked in Silicon Valley, NASA, all the early big Hewlett Packard. My old studio. Brought the Kissy Boys here. This is what convinced Larry and helped convince me to finally go to Burning Man after not wanting to go for years. 2 flaming skeletons that 2 people would operate. This work was insanely popular. You know, what it did is and what Burning Man did is gave me a national and international platform to where I eventually started showing this work around the world and got a lot of exhibits in Europe and in New York. So carnival ride-esque, building stuff that could pick people up and move them, and willing volunteers. This is a show in New York I did in a warehouse. It's a shark cage, inspired by the divers who go in and feed the sharks inside a cage. So what's the role of technology in our lives? So I changed. Here's a handshaking robot where I started to think about the human body in a different way. 2 mind-reading robots using electroencephalographs, and the 2 people against the back wall there are running each robot on the right side. Praying robots that didn't exhibit in a blue chip gallery, one of my few blue chip gallery shows. And I did an exhibit of praying robots, whirling dervish here. And these all had sensors that read the audience's aura, shall we say, and responded. This is a piece, Listening to the Moon. And I'm reading the light of the moon of a video I shot of the moon. That UFO shape in the right-hand corner is a symbol that'll sound. This is a more recent work. A lot of this stuff is thoughts of as prototype for larger pieces. I created a number of pieces that were recreating historic scientific experiments. It's a rolling bearing in a tube, so we could hear gravity. I did a residency at the Galileo Museum in, where was that? In Italy. I'm forgetting the city, great city. But inspired by the early proto-scientists.
Pisa?
So Florencia is where it was. Remember right? Another piece using light, kind of a drum machine again. This is a recreation of a famous experiment, the Fizeau experiment, where I'm bouncing a laser off a mirror and hitting light sensors. And I figured out I could get that sound from a light sensor, which is really made to just turn on and off lights in the dark. Sort of misapplying and misusing technology. So we're hearing the speed of light. Really stuff built almost completely out of junk. And we scavenged the streets of San Francisco, and a term came up called obtainium, where we would find jewels on the streets. More recent piece, I have a buddy who's an investigative reporter, A.C. Thompson, and he's been investigating the American fascist movement, and he got me hundreds of hours of their footage of the assault on the U.S. Capitol. And I made a 6-hour and 11-minute video, kind of opus, that it's been screening around the U.S. quite a bit. Sort of torturous, horrific video, but we had a lot of fun and played with it. And this is footage that the fascists shot of themselves while they attacked the Capitol. I guess in the back of all this is a political vibe, reason. And again, citizen scientist here, found some microorganisms growing in a puddle on my roof in the city, and I've been breeding them for years. Homemade microscope, and I'm sonifying, hearing these creatures when they move. I made a little program to track their sounds. And then finally, I'm listening to a cactus. Cactus out of my garden. And there it is.
Okay, I have a few comments and a few questions, and then ultimately we'll go to audience members. Just bouncing off what you've just shown us, Cal, I'm remembering EAT from the 1960s,
Yep.
Experiments in Art and Technology, Billy Kluver,
Yep.
Robert Rauschenberg, and others. And
heroes of mine. I have
Yeah.
studied them inside and out. Yeah.
and Jean Tinguely,
Sure.
Nikki de Saint-Fel,
Yep.
not just from your work, but just from the whole ethos of Burning Man. And what else was I going to say? Oh, question for Crimson. Being such an international event, how many countries have been represented over time?
Well, I know there's about 250 different regionals all over the world. Numbers, I believe it's about 50 different countries of people that came to the event, were so inspired, would take the energy and take it back to their own home and do amazing gatherings, beach cleanups, camping, and create community.
Hmm. Yeah, that was a question I was going to ask you was, did was there ever a thought of doing, I'll read you the question itself. With so much uninhabited land in America, have you ever considered actually building a permanent city or town, whatever you would call it, or doing as the annual project or theme, the idea of creating really pragmatic dwellings and communal areas that could then be perhaps not left there, but created somewhere else as permanent dwellings?
I think that defeats the purpose of being something a temporary, ephemeral that only lasts for a short moment. Really, a week is a very long time.
Mhm.
I think it would change the aspect of what Black Rock City is.
Uh-huh.
Um, we do own, Burning Man Project does own a piece of property north of the desert called Fly. And what we are attempting to do is actually recreate some of the energy that came out of Burning Man and how do you make something permanent? And it's a question that we've been grappling with, and I think it changes it. I think it changes the ephemeral aspect of it.
Yeah, can I jump in there?
Yes,
So
go ahead.
my scene and my, our punk robot, more road warrior crowd that loved Burning Man in those 90s were really rebelling against the status quo, the museums, the classical traditional venues that oddly I often show at now, but
Right.
we were just railing against them. We were sort of maybe immature, angry, bitter, pissed off from the Reagan era on, and
Mm.
not having this death spiral of capitalism and turning art into a commodity. So Burning Man this was it. This was the workaround of the gatekeepers of culture, at least for us in the Bay Area.
So
And
Crimson, why all the nom de plumes? Is that to protect privacy, or is it just is it a veneer, or is it some form of cosplay? Uh,
it's about renaming yourself, of course.
okay.
Different personas, let's just say.
Right.
And I have to say, Cal, it was so wonderful to see, all the footage because it was in the 90s was so alive. Oh my goodness. It was dangerous, but it was so much fun. Oh my goodness.
It was super raw. I mean, I remember one year I showed up without a tent, and I was like, "Where the hell am I going to sleep? That desert is no joke. You will die if you're not prepared. You can
Uh,
die."
uh,
Especially back then, it was road warrior fun, crazy energy. And
so a question more for Crimson, I guess. What does it cost someone? What's the all-in cost? And do people tend to gang up into sort of uh, clusters of people sharing the same resources? How does it work exactly?
Yeah, some people come in and just bring a tent. Some people bring RVs. Some people create actually what we call theme camps,
Uh-huh.
and everybody is communal in that camp. Um, the average price really for us to put on the event is about $750.
Uh,
But we have a sliding scale that starts from $550, and depending upon what you can actually give, can go all the way up to $3,000.
uh-huh.
Now, this doesn't guarantee you anything except
Uh-huh.
for you to come and bring your energy to
Uh-huh.
Black Rock City to be a part of Burning Man.
Uh-huh.
you
Would
guys
the
never charged me
but
anything. I never had to
yeah.
pay once. Bless your hearts.
Well,
And
do people go out there with food trucks? Do you have sort of semi-commercial kind of stuff?
nope.
No, no, we actually ask people to be self-sufficient.
No,
And
self-sufficient.
you can't really, your money doesn't really go anywhere. It's really the one place where money, except for buying ice, because we want to make sure that when you have food, that you keep the food safe.
Mhm.
So ice is definitely, but the money that comes out of the ice sales actually is donated back into some nonprofits.
Mhm. And do you get donations from nonprofits? Do you get some sort of support in the form of grants or no?
Well, we do have our philanthropic, department, and we are looking into that. But primarily, everything that we create for Black Rock City is by ticket donation. We do not
Uh,
have corporate sponsorship at
uh,
all. You won't see big billboards put
right.
you
And
like.
just before we started the Zoom, I was asking you, is there any consciousness or dedication to curating a legacy and creating a formal archive and because performance art in particular is so ephemeral, you need to really be working on it at any given time.
Right.
So from each year, is there something that has survived over time?
There are some aspects. Actually, on the Burning Man website, burningman.org, there is a section that actually will show you every year little bits and pieces.
Mhm.
Um, and we are in the process of actually, we've always kept items, and it is the aspect of storing it that is one of the issues as well. But yes.
Uh, the uh, I just saw recently in one of your emails, a mass email, the Temple of the Deep. Tell us about that.
Well, that's the next iteration of the temple. And again, the temple is a place where people can come and really honor those that have meant something to them that have actually passed. It could be your child, it could be your parent, it could be a good friend, a professor, even your cat. And over the years, these have actually changed shape and it is quite an amazing environment where people, there really is no place in society where you can go and pay homage to somebody. You can go to a cemetery, a grave, but in one place to be able to honor those that have meant something to you is very special.
Uh, so I see in our audience we have Barnaby Rue, who is a former board member, is an artist, a former board member of ATOA. Uh, and he mentioned that you wanted to bring up a subject, Barnaby, right? You have to unmute yourself. Something about shamanism, I think.
Sure. I got it. That's it. Yeah. Hi, Crimson. Good to see you again.
Hi.
Um, Amazing. I would like to talk about the temple and probably shamanism. We Burning Man is of course countercultural, but that might also include ancient cultures as we know. And it turns out that even the eccentricity has ancient roots. Of course, the Burning Man has a European root with a basket and a man in a basket, which could, of course, be probably springtime, purging, ritual, scapegoat, hard to say. But what I'm looking at is the possibility that with the artwork, sometimes touching, um, a magical property, like an amulet. Those little jewelry you talked about are little amulets, but the possibility that Burning Man is a vast international ritual, a global moment, um, and my feeling, I would have to call it a comment, is that when the temple burns, there is complete silence. As we know, it's stunning the amount of non non-speaking that occurs there, considering the noise of the entire week. Nobody can talk. Everyone's holding their breath, and it's the strangest thing. My point is, I think something's happening, and I think it's global. And there was one moment when I was at Burning Man. We were lying under the temple. At the time, there was a cone, so you could look up to the sky through the temple, and I saw the stars, and they were wonderful. And then I realized, no, no, actually, they're like fireworks, but there aren't any. But oh, well, my God, they're coming down through the cone back into the temple. And I thought, what's that? And then I realized that the all the dead people in the world found out there's a big party going on Sunday to release all the spirits together with everybody having this great send off, this great feeling. And all the other dead people around the world showed up for the party. There's not just 50, 70,000 little mementos in the thing. It's bigger than that. There's something about the world at Burning Man. And I think also that the people who show up suspect this. They suspect that they will find out about what the world can mean for them.
Let's let Crimson maybe
That's it. Thank
respond
you.
to that. Okay.
Thank you,
I'm
Pat.
totally agreeing with you.
Uh,
There was something about when we say it's temporal. Um, I, Also, when I first went to Burning Man, it reminded me of the musical. Of course, now I'm not going to be able to think about it, where the people go to sleep and they go to sleep for 100 years and then they wake up and they're alive, awake for like 24 hours. It feels like that. It feels like there's an energy, there's a subconscious level under everything where we're really getting back in touch with the land and almost in a primitive kind of aspect. I mean, I didn't really talk about ritual that much, but ritual is so much part of it. And the fire and the aspects of when you create something and the people that are actually creating something and they know that their artwork is going to be released, not just burned, but released and let go of. There's something, I think, beyond humans, that it is spiritual and it's tapping into something so much deeper. I mean, Burning Man is only 39 years. I mean, there are cultures that have been playing with fire and the release and the rituals that happen throughout a whole town that encompass everybody, and everybody gets into it. Valencia has Las Fallas, which they know more about fire than we do, but there's an energy to it where it brings out the awe in how I feel. I hope that answered it. I could
Yeah,
go on.
it's big.
Let's see
It's
if we
big.
have someone else that would like to ask something or say something. Whoever you are, unmute yourself. Okay, very, very calm out there. How far
Folks, you can mute yourself.
how far in advance do you select themes? Is there, is this something that goes on for several years in leading up to coming years?
Usually in the fall, Burning Man is sort of like our year-round thing, but by the time that the man is released and the temple is released, the themes, Stuart Mangrum is really the person now that took it over from Larry, who creates the themes and he plays with things. And then what we try to do is pull in the platform, the pavilion that the man sits on in it as well,
Mhm.
uh, is a part of that.
And is there any special plan for the 50th year?
Oh my goodness.
That seems too
Oh,
futuristic, maybe?
well, if we can still be allowed to be on the Black Rock Desert,
Uh,
because it is, we do deal with the Bureau of Land Management.
uh,
And they issue the permit to us every year, assuming that we actually clean everything up and leave no trace. And then we
well,
get to,
one thing is that you probably won't have to worry about the Bureau of Land Management anymore.
I don't know.
Oops.
A kind of blessing in disguise. Or you'll have to deal with some of the tribes directly, the Native Americans.
Doug and Crimson, if I can jump in for a second.
Mhm.
My scene in the 90s when I went, and our art and technology scene in the Bay Area, we weren't naive of history, and we were aware of what had happened for millennia, as Crimson said, and even with contemporary art and Nancy Holt, Robert Smithson, what
Uh-huh.
Sarah was doing. Sarah's family's from San Francisco, who
Yeah.
I know, and so we weren't entering into this not knowing what some really amazing art had happened and was happening. I was always a huge fan of Duchamp and Chris Burden. My friends and community talked about this work all the time. I was friends with Ana Mendieta and what she was doing with her body and the earth. We loved philosophers. We loved Walter Benjamin when he talked about the misconceptions of history. We love the Situationists and the Derive. There was a group called the Cacophony Society that was staging events all over the Bay Area that were very reminiscent of what the Situationists were doing in Paris. Paul Virilio and his skepticism of technology. With the invention of the ship comes the shipwreck. With every great invention, there's a darker backside to it. potentially. We knew about Bucky Fuller and his visionary, amazing embrace of the future that we wanted and demanded. We were all activists. We all went to the protests, still do, and we were demanding, like I sort of mentioned earlier, the space that we wanted, and we weren't interested in asking for it. And I'll be damned, Will, Crimson, Larry, you guys all carved that space out for us, and you don't have to go every time to shift your paradigm and then hold that the rest of your life and not let go. And in these times, in this moment, I think it's more important than ever to really demand what we want and need. And I'm tired of asking. I'm over it. And they're not going to give us anything anymore, is my sense. And every bit that we've clawed out, we have to hang on to. And props to you guys, Will and Crimson. I do want to introduce Will Roger, who's here. That you guys have kept this alive and provided a platform for hundreds of thousands of people and introduced these concepts to people that had maybe never thought of them. A lot of folks go to this festival and it flips the script. I had already had shows in Europe and done some really crazy stuff in the city before I went to Burning Man. And I was already on board 1,000% when I went. But I watched so many people's lives change. You think it's corny, you kind of can't picture it, but you go and it's you can't even believe it. You think you know, you don't, because you haven't been.
Thank you, Sal. I was going to actually acknowledge my husband, Will Roger, who's also one of the founders as well.
The dapper fellow waving now with the beautiful white beard.
I thought you were saying Will Rogers, and I was saying, wow, that's is quite a comeback.
Will Roger.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to reference that we weren't going into this naive of what was happening, and I had shown at Jeffrey Deitch by the time I went there, and been involved a lot in New York City and a ton of galleries there, and this was so much better and fun and over the top as compared to a bunch of shit for sale in a store, essentially, which is what those galleries provide.
Made me think of something. It's more for Crimson, maybe. Do people, when they sign up to come as participants and act, I guess every participant is a viewer and vice versa. Do they identify themselves as artists if they are artists? I mean, I understand that one thought is that anybody can participate and they're not necessarily an artist, or they're only making an artistic expression maybe one time that they come to Burning Man. But clearly there must be, like Cal, many who are specifically artists, dedicated artists beyond the borders of Burning Man. Are you logging that sort of thing? Have you been logging who people are in addition to who they say they are?
Well, we certainly create a census, and it's not so much who the person is, but what is their background? Where do they come from? What I have found over the years, and yes, it was crazy in the 90s, and thank goodness, because we were sort of outlaws doing this, that as I said in the presentation, is one person would create, 5 people would create something, and other people go, oh my goodness, I could do, if they're doing that, I could do. And so many people have started being creative and doing something, but not just the art. It's also the infrastructure. It's also the man. It's just the laying out of Black Rock City with Department of Public Works. And I know there's Dana is here on there as well, who also works with the man team as well. It's like, it's the do-ocracy, is you get in and you do something. And I think for some people, it's very hard just to sit around, and they want to get involved. They want to be able to create something or set something on fire. It's It's very humbling. It's incredibly humbling because I think in the very beginning we had no idea. We just knew there was a drive that we had to keep going to the desert year after year after year and making this a city in the dust.
Yeah, because I could think that a book or whatever expression it might turn out to be would simply be a census of who has been to Burning Man, would be a fascinating document unto itself.
Uh,
Uh,
can I ask a question?
Go right ahead.
I'm just curious about the logistics of this. I mean, these installations, sculptures are so unbelievably complicated
Mhm.
and huge. And I'd like to know a little bit more about how and when they're made and who helps and where. And I mean, these pieces don't look to me like they could have just been built in 7 days in the desert. Could you explain a little bit about the process and, how the artists, where is there funding? I mean, some of this costs money.
Yes,
Yeah,
actually,
Steven Siegel is a sculptor.
yeah.
Mhm.
So we actually just finished our grant process, which happens in November, and we give out 1 million.3 in grants. Now that's just for about 75 to 80 works of art. But people are working all year long, collecting their crews and finding the workspace and finding extra funding. And they're working all year long. And what happens, what I find, is that there are people that have started working on certain crews have branched off and start making their own art as well. So yeah, some of these people they're doing it all year long.
So they are funded, and then the work is designed, it's built, and largely it's brought in.
Yes, yes,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
This
I,
is
I want to.
sounding a little bit like Mardi Gras. Go ahead, Babs.
Oh, I'm. First of all, thank you. This was wonderful to hear all about it. So thank you. One of the things that it's more of a comment about people. Something that surprised me. I'm a news junkie, and I also follow the former Solicitor General of in the Obama administration, Neil Katyal, and he talked about his experience of going to Burning Man, and it just kind of surprised me to hear of somebody like that who wanted to get involved in this. And I guess he had some friends who were a part of a piece that they were putting together, and that's the part that's fascinating is like you're talking about all the different people that come to this thing. It's just more of a comment, and surprised the shit out of me when I heard him talking about this. So it definitely reaches far and wide. I don't know if you want to comment. It was just a fascinating thing for me.
No, you said it. I mean, what happens? People do come to Black Rock City to enjoy it, and to be a part of it, and they might even get involved in making artwork or something like that. And I know there's a person. Klaus has had his hand up for a while.
Okay, Klaus, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a comment and then a question. Just as an example, I know one person who built 1 year or designed and then organized the building of one of the temples. Her name is Marisha Farnsworth. And she made a point that she collected tons and tons of logs from dead trees that were already dead and could not be used because they were infested with stuff. So they transported them out there and put this huge temple together. I forgot when it was, 22 or 23 or something like that. But just the idea not to use things to cut down trees to build this temple is just an example of the spirit behind this.
Right.
My question is, one of the stated principles to leave no trace behind. Now, it's hard for me to believe And when every year 70,000 or whatever people come there and all this building and then the burning and the ash, there must be traces left behind. How can you live up to this principle?
It's incredibly important. We feel like that with our sustainability, we have to be good stewards of the Black Rock Desert. It doesn't own us. We don't own it. We are only visiting and building this amazing city, and we have to take it away. We have actually one department of the Department of Public Works called the Restoration, and they literally will walk once everything is taken away on the playa. They will literally walk every block by block and pick up everything that should not be there. And then actually with the Bureau of Land Management, we have to show that we did clean up. And it's incredibly important. We have an amazing leave no trace policy.
I should mention that Klaus Jacob is a scientist, climate scientist, Klaus.
Yeah, I
So,
was originally a seismologist, but I turned into other disasters, including climate.
Klaus, the feds do breathe down their necks. I mean, Crimson, do you remember when I sort of got arrested one year? And I mean, there's a zillion backstories to navigating really doing something like this on federal property, and it takes an institution to navigate that. This is no joke, and it's not easy. And they watch over that land as it should be. I was being bad, setting off fuel air explosions, and the cops are out there. A cop drives by, and we saw him, and I just kept doing what I was doing and running some robots. And finally, he drives up. He goes, "Who do you think you are?" And he just chewed my ass out and goes, "Get in my car." And essentially arrested me. And I'm driving. They even have a little police station there of some sorts where they book people. And because it's a city of 70,000 people, it was much smaller back then. And I convinced the cop to drive me to Center Camp where Will and Larry and Crimson were. And I came walking up with this cop right behind me. And Crimson's like, "What's wrong, Cal?" Do you remember this, Crimson? And I was like, "I think I'm under arrest." And you chewed that cop out, up one side and down the other. And the cop was livid, and he had to let me go because you had clearance for the artists to do their art. What the cop saw, or what we were doing in San Francisco in the robot scene was there was sort of a rivalry between the police and us. We were building weapons they didn't have that were insanely bigger and way more intense. And that was how dysfunctional and crazy and reactive we were back then. We would get jet engines from Lockheed Martin and rebuild them and put afterburners on them. I mean, and this was a place we could do that. Having said that, the cops are there, the feds are there, and they're watching. You can't just go trash this amazing, gorgeous desert. Long story. Do you remember that, Crimson?
Yeah. You bring it back to mind.
Dana has a question.
Go right ahead.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doug, for being a great host, and Chenny for your intro, and Calman and Crimson. What wonderful stories. I wanted to give you a case study of what Crimson was talking about real quick. Before I was building the Man and the Man Base Actual, which has only been the last 3 years, I was not a carpenter and I was not an artist. The Man essentially chose me. So speaking about that spiritual side, that something happens out there. I was nobody. That's a weird thing to say, but I was just a participant, which is a good thing. Participating in Burning Man. I literally used to live way out in the boondocks and somehow just got pulled in. So I wanted to put that in addition to the amazing artists that are out there building and doing all the things, anybody can participate and find their way. And now I have been building the man. The other thing is the leave no trace aspect that Klaus was talking about from the man based perspective before the leave no trace people come out and do the restoration, excuse me. We actually go over with magnetic rakes and we pick up every piece of hardware that is burned and left behind. And a lot of the participants and everyone goes through it first after it burns and it's safe. But there's such a process, like down to the minutia. So I just want to, and we're covered with soot and we're happy to do it. And we've been out there for 6 weeks already because we go out there to build the man base. So it's just a wonderful experience. So no matter what age anyone is or what their artistic or science and all the things, anybody, even a girl like me who just loves words, can go out there and try something she's never done before. So thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you, Dana. Clipboard. Actually, her name is Clipboard.
It's okay. It's okay.
That what you happened to you, Dana, is what people would approach me every single year. They'd see my setup, the shows hadn't even started, and be like, "What is this stuff?" Or "I've heard about you. How can I help?" And I would have a flood of volunteers, and sometimes insanely talented volunteers, and some people who didn't know how to hold a hammer. And you'd get the whole spectrum. MIT scientists would show up, folks from NASA. And so there's a volunteer talent pool that would show up every time I did a show. And you could always count on a whole spectrum of skill set to draw from. And that's the vibe there. No money, no one's paying anyone, and it's all volunteer.
That event in Las Vegas where the Tesla Cybertruck was destroyed in flames, that wasn't one of your projects.
I don't know anything.
Okay.
You don't admit anything.
We'll edit that out. I want to mention two upcoming panels, and then turn things over to my colleague, Jenny.
Are you wrapping it up, Doug?
I'm getting ready.
Okay, I just have one question. Because
go right ahead.
I don't know a lot about Burning Man, so I was just kind of listening and learning, so being a bit quiet. But I really actually just have a very, sort of simple question, I guess. So from what I studied, looking at here, is that most of it takes place outdoors. So it has a great relationship with the environment and nature and so forth. So over the decades, have you had to make some kind of accommodation for climate change? As in, has the weather or something have ever changed your plan, or that you have done something different these days that you've not done in the past?
Well, certainly we're attempting to go more towards solar for anything that needs electric out there. But I would say that our sustainability is actually really good. When you think about 70,000 people coming and coming to Black Rock City and getting out of their cars, that really is like 1 week of people not using their vehicles. And that, to me, is incredibly important. And we still have more to learn. And how can we make it better? We always want to make it better, no matter what.
Doug, may I ask a question?
Sure, go right ahead.
I want to say thank you so much. These artist talk on art are so great, and it's good to see you again, Crimson. I have a question about, obviously this is an alternative space for 39 years. Are there other alternative spaces that you admire, that you follow, that you think other artists should follow?
Oh my goodness. Well, as I mentioned before, Las Fallas in Valencia, which happens in March, is quite phenomenal. 400 neighborhoods that actually get together and actually will build a 30, 40-foot wooden, piece of artwork. And everything is like released by fire on March 9th, I think it is, La Crema. But it's the little spaces in Seattle or in Houston or even New York or Ireland. There are places really all over the place, and a lot of it has to do with the regionals. And it's so heartwarming to see people coming together and creating something and celebrating. And to me, that's so important. It's nice to see you, Elizabeth.
So my follow-up question is, but is there really anything like Burning Man anywhere else?
No.
Maybe parts of it,
Well, Elizabeth, I exhibit in Europe a lot and in the Bay Area, and there are underground spaces everywhere. It's often run by young people with no budget and illegal. There's nothing to code, and I feel like that is what this came out of in some ways, is DIY artists and trying to imagine the world we want and then making it happen. When I do shows in Europe, people then invite me to those spaces, and you'd never know. It's down a weird dark alley with no lights. It's the third door on the left, and you got to bang on it 6 times. I love it. It's maybe what speakeasies used to be.
Well, the speakeasy in the water tower that Derby did, things JR does, Music Box in New Orleans, that people all over the world come to play.
These aren't even established. This isn't stuff funded through an institution. These are artist-run spaces where an artist rents a space and then shows art.
Yeah. Can I ask one more if I'm being real greedy?
Go ahead. We have a few more minutes. So.
It's about alternative economies. Obviously, actually, I was really lucky to have lunch with you one time, Crimson, and you stood up from the table. You were dashing off to your next appointment, and you said, "I have no money." And I said, "Oh, no problem. I'm happy to buy you lunch. And what you're doing is really important." And I learned something. She's pulling this off. This is not just something she talks about. This is real. And so how has the approach that Burning Man takes evolved? Do you feel like you guys contributed to Bitcoin culture and other alternative methodologies?
Oh, I think there's all kinds of weird stuff that has come out of the event that I don't even know if I understand Bitcoins for that matter. But I think there's, people come out. I've seen aspects of things that ended up in commercials going, oh, that person went to Burning Man. I can tell that. Right. Or other aspects that go out into the world. I mean, Cal, your machine art, come on, there's some stuff that people have copied you and put it,
Oh, yeah. That flattery is the best form of
right.
Right, is the term.
Or is it just spell the name correctly?
It's the sincerest form of flattery.
Sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah.
People used to offer me drugs if they could run one of my robots. People would be, hey, I'll give you 3 beers if you let me run that flamethrower.
And that was a problem. No.
And no, I would do it. I'll take your drugs and your beer, at least back then. And that was the form of exchange. And not that I would even have asked for that, but people wanted to support, right, and give back, and they appreciated what you're doing. This is a kind of a tip, I guess.
Yeah.
And,
so,
Doug,
it
was never money.
That's another book, is the alternative.
There was never capital involved. That was the beautiful thing. It was taboo even to bring up money or how much.
Right.
Was that for sale?
Okay.
Hi, my name's Tahoe Mack, and I'm so grateful to be here presenting on Artist Talk on Art with the amazing Crimson Rose, Cal Spelletich, and Douglas Scher. These people are legendary, and I'm so grateful to be able to share this experience with them. Just a little welcome note, never be afraid to dream big. because the Burning Man event community allowed me to share the monumental mammoth story with the world. This may just look like a photo of the desert to you, but what if I told you it was a rich fossil bed? A group of women attending a town hall meeting learned that there was a company about to buy a bunch of land in the desert and dig power lines, which would essentially destroy all of the fossil beds, with Columbian mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and giant sloths that used to roam the Vegas desert. They spent the next 10 years fighting to protect this land until it was declared a national monument in 2014. And in 2015, Sherry Grothier, a protector of Tule Springs, came to speak to my Girl Scout troop. I learned there were thousands of fossils just outside of town in the hiking trails and valleys I explored, and they had a huge dumping problem, as well as a severe misuse of the land. Without fences or indications that the space was protected, people felt free to use the space as a dump, ATV recreation site, and a shooting ground. The story of the efforts of Tule Springs moved me so deeply. We don't often understand the depths it takes to protect things when we enjoy the benefits. But the illegal dumping made me think of artists like Bordello II, who uses recycled trash to make really beautiful pieces of art. And I thought to myself, hey, now wouldn't it be cool to use this trash to make the biggest thing that used to roam out here? And that's when the idea of the monumental mammoth was born. My dream was to create a symbol of the past, the present, and the future of Tule Springs National Monument. I could see the potential of this place, where kids and families and tourists could come see the bones uncovered, the trails explored, and the beauty of the desert on display. And of course, an amazing sculpture to welcome people to the site. The mammoth would be a combination of modern engineering and recycled materials, with a steel skeleton structure and a collaged outer skin to give us a peek into how much space that these creatures took up. And so it began. I teamed up with Sherry Grothier as our nonprofit partner with Tule Springs National Monument, and then I was introduced to Lou Varela-Rico, and it was an instant connection. Lou believed in the project, and that meant the world to me. When you're 15 years old trying to make a mammoth and everyone wants you to make a baby mammoth, it meant a lot. He is so incredibly talented and humble and absolutely transforming the Vegas art scene to this day. With his help, I learned to weld, and we created 3D renderings and mini models to bring to pitches, presentations, and interviews. We also planned local cleanups with schools and Girl Scout troops, and we stored and collected the metal in a gigantic truck until we were ready to start building the mammoth. Then we had to really get to work making this thing happen. In the top left corner, you'll see a screenshot of the presentation that has lasted the entire 4 years of pitching the mammoth. We really put the power in PowerPoint. I pitched this PowerPoint to hundreds of people, corporations, nonprofits, local governments, and anyone that would listen. During this time, I was also connected with Dana Albany, an incredible recycled metal artist who became the vision behind the mammoth's exterior skin. And she introduced me to Burning Man. These artists, Lou, me, and Dana, we really understood the nature of the vision and worked together wonderfully. I feel so blessed and grateful for their kindness and collaboration, which is still present in their work to this day. So after building a plan, creating mock-ups, sharing the vision, and connecting with talent, this freaking happened. In 2018, I was able to fundraise enough to have her built and exist in the 3D world, and Mimi Lou was born. It was the best day of my life. And I also learned about Burning Man, the possibilities of having her there in 2019, and that's when the true fun began. Dana has been part of the Burning Man community for years and has the most amazing, talented, loving friends and supporters who rallied and came out to Las Vegas to give their time and their hearts to support the Mammoth Project. Burning Man fosters the hard-working grit that it takes to make the wildest ideas come into reality. Heck, we had people wanting to make Mimi Lou shoot fire. She also holds the mementos of loved ones' histories and stories on every square inch. People learned to weld making her and were able to be involved in any way they felt comfortable. We just had them come and we taught them on the spot. It was so fun. I can see each contributing artist's hand as I walk around the Mammoth. There are so many hidden pieces to see at first glance and more to reflect on when you come back to her. And during the build, we applied for Burning Man's honorarium grant and we were selected. We were all so excited to bring her to Burning Man, but most of our team had never been. And let me tell you, bringing an art piece to Burning Man is no freaking joke. We prepared for months. One of my most asked questions is how we got her to Playa. So here's a photo of Mimi Lou on the back of the flatbed truck that drove across the Vegas desert to get her to Black Rock Desert. And once we got there, it was a week of sweaty, long hours in the sun, bolting the mammoth to the desert floor and getting her prepared for the elements and the people. But I have to shout out the Burning Man art team. They are the heart of this event. We love them. None of this can be made possible without their expertise and help. They came with all their rigs and made this installation possible. And who said that art needs to be shared in a white room with nothing else on the walls? Nothing is more expansive, magical, imaginative, and beautiful than the open expanse of the never-ending desert. It gives such a sense of scale, and it's just so beautiful, and it creates a beautiful setting for the artwork. And out of world quality, it just gives everything a sense of magnitude and curiosity, and the experience of riding through a dust storm just to come upon the craziest contraption you've ever seen in your entire life. It just sets the bar so high. Burning Man has truly been on the forefront of art experiences. It's the place where artists can make their dreams happen. The level of support the Burning Man event, communities, and funds provide for the creative community is amazing. People come from far and wide to experience the artwork that many creative festivities that are all supported by the community. It's so amazing that Burning Man literally is just an amalgamation of a bunch of people having fun ideas and making them happen. And because of Burning Man's focus to uplift community efforts, you find a lot of people that come into the Burning Man community that are willing to contribute in the same way. And Burning Man continues to support artists that make the Mammoth possible and things like the Mammoth possible. Dana Albany and Louvre Larico continue to create beautiful works of art, and hopefully more, that make their way to Burning Man. And I hopefully will make it back to Burning Man in the future. Mimi Lou is now permanently installed in the Ice Age Fossil State Park in Las Vegas, and we are getting fired up to celebrate her 1-year birthday. But Mimi Lou is just starting to fulfill her destiny, inspiring young minds and making changes to the landscape of the Vegas Valley. This is a photo of me meeting the first Girl Scout troop to come, and I got to give them a little spiel of the mammoth, and it was just so exciting to see them light up and hopefully get them through scouting and just excited about the possibilities of making their dreams happen too. I just wanted to thank you all so much for having me here today. Mimi Lou is more than just a sculpture. She's a symbol of history, community, and the power of art to create change. From the fossil beds of Tule Springs to the open playa at Burning Man, and now standing proudly at Ice Age Fossil State Park, she carries the stories of everyone who fought to protect this land, who shaped her, who continue to be inspired by her. And this journey has shown me that art is not about just what we create. It's about bringing people together. It's about preserving the past, shaping the present, and imagining a future where creativity and community go hand in hand. So thank you so much for having me here today. And if you ever find yourself in Las Vegas, please go visit Mimi Lou. She's waiting for you.
Okay, shameless promotion here.
Do it.
Next week, March 10th, Artist Talk on Art has master printmakers associated with the Woodstock School of Art. Lisa Mackey, who runs the printmaking program, Dan Weldon, and Kathy Caraccio. They're all great printers. I commend you to watch that. And on March 17th, the LA art scene in the wake of the fires, another kind of fires, a dialogue between myself and the critic Peter Frank, who moved from New York. He used to be a colleague in New York in the 70s. He moved to LA, and you know, I would say he's one of the most important critics in LA now. So it'll be a dialogue on the impact of the fires on the LA art scene, all the different aspects of that. And now I turn things over to Chenny.
We should do that fire thing right after this, so we branch out our repertoire of fires. Anyway, so I mean, there's really not that much for me to say. Doug, you have introduced all the programs, so thank you all for being here. And just once again, if you want to see recordings and legacy recordings on our YouTube channel, subscribe to us, and hopefully we see you again very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Bye. Bye, Will. Bye,
Thank you
Crimson.
so much.
Doug,
This
you're
was great.
amazing. You people are amazing.